Hi, everyone. So we're going to be talking about AI tools for literacy searching. What some folks had really wanted was they've heard about a lot of things. A lot of people know Research Rabbit, and they thought, what else is out there? So one of the things about Research Rabbit is that it has not updated its base of literature since 2021. And so I'm going to go through some ways to use AI that I think are helpful, but with a lot of caveats. But I think one of the things, there's a couple things to know. Almost all AI, when it comes to research, was originally designed and is still in many ways designed for either medical or STEM fields. So the social sciences have been lagging. I'll talk about some other tips, but one of the things is to recognize because there's a tool out there doesn't mean just because there's hammers out there doesn't mean your problem is a nail. So really think carefully and test out, do a little of that sort of scientific experimentation to see if these tools fit the thing you want, especially starting with something that you know pretty well. Because I found people who start to use these tools on topics they don't know well think that everything's amazing, but when they look at something they really know well, they go, that's not very good. And it's like, well, yeah, it's depending on what you need it to do. I'm going to show you what I think are some of the most powerful ones and what I think does sort of the best at what's out there. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is Perplexity AI. I think this is useful for finding research. It's very, very helpful in finding search terms. It will give citations, but remember, even though there's citations, sometimes they're sort of, if you've ever been on Google Scholar and you're like, yes, this is from something I've never heard of, from someplace I've never seen cited, from something that has never, in all my years of graduate study, this journal has never been mentioned. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's this hidden gem. It might be, but it could also be just not very good and just managed to get into the what's feeding the AI, what's feeding the large language models. All of these have something free that you could test out. And then they all have, it's called freemium, where for $10 a month or $12 a month, or like Perplexity, $20 a month, you can have certain powerful things. I would say, depending on where you are at your research, if you do have 20 bucks for 1 month of something, might not be a terrible idea just to really give it through its paces. Some people do have questions about what does it do for the environment? What does it do for, is it robbing people of their research? I I have concerns about the environment. I think Bitcoin mining is doing much more than this AI is doing right now. But these are choices we all make as to what computers we buy, what cars we buy. I'm going to leave it up to folks to make those decisions. But if you have questions, it's always welcome to talk to me. So Perplexity AI, one of the things you can do is you can it's got one of the things I will say, it has some really nice help features to get started, but you can ask anything. And I have some saved things. So I wanted to sort of save time. If anybody's watched the AI bubble spin, I didn't want to do that. So, and I was trying to pick social science topics. I'm looking for research specifically about academic writing tools for graduate students that considers how often they use them, how and why. These tools could include Grammarly or other AI tools. So one of the things whenever you're using an AI tool, think about your prompt. Don't think about the persona. So even naming, I don't do it here, but naming, I'm a graduate student looking for this, or I'm a PhD student looking for this, something that tells it your position, and then what you're looking for with a few terms and giving it some boundaries. So in this case, I didn't say I wanted cited research, but it's because I know Perplexity automatically gives me cited research. And so one of the things that I really like is by looking at these answers, I can see artificial intelligence tools perceptions, perceptions of engineering students, impact of AI on independent writing skills of English as a second language learners. Now, one of the things you might notice is these sound pretty good. I'm noticing automated written corrective feedback. These are all search terms that I might start pulling down to have in my researcher journal or in my notes for the different ways that scholars talk about this. Now, one of the things you might notice is that usually we would think we would see maybe the Journal of Research in Higher Education, maybe because often international graduate students use these, maybe like something like a TESOL or higher education. So we've got something, here's its first citation, IJIRSS might be good, doesn't ring a bell. AE.FL.KPI doesn't ring a bell. CCSENET.org. It could be good, but this is the first one that I'm like absolutely sure that it's coming from a provider that does academic research like like focused. So what I'm noticing as I go through is I'm not seeing the things that I thought I would see, and I also can't tell quickly what some of those sources are. So I would have to click on some of these to do it, like the International Journal Corner of Innovative Research and Development. I've never heard about it, so now the work that I have to do, thanks to the AI, is actually look up to see about this journal and is it peer reviewed and where's it from? It says it's double blind research, but I've never heard of it. So that makes me a little nervous. And this is one of the things that, even though I'm not at all judging yet, but I don't know where they're getting the papers from. Semantic Scholar will actually talk about that as another AI tool. So these are not jumping out to me as the greatest searches ever, but I might want to ask a follow-up, something like, give me a good advanced search for a library database so I can do the search, on my own. And this is something I actually like. So graduate student or postgraduate or master's student or doctoral student or PhD student and academic writing tool, writing assistant, and usage frequently. This is probably, and here's some filters we might want to use. This I think is pretty good, and I am slightly concerned that this is going to be the thing that takes my job. I'm not going to worry too much. I think I'm okay. But it's actually giving me some tips for how to use it. So while I don't love Perplexity for the results they gave me, I do very much like, now they put some asterisks within quotation marks, which won't work in all academic search. But I'm just going to go really quickly to our library. I can paste this in. And when I paste it into the library, it should be pretty close. We got 8,600 results. I'm going to quickly do my peer reviewed journal because I'm pretending to be a graduate student. Sorry, 1961. I'm just going to give us 2020. I'm going to refine and Grammarly deployment with EFL writing classrooms. That's not bad. That's not bad. Graduate student instructors. So it's helped me get really quickly to something that's kind of interesting. So Perplexity, depending on your topic. Now, with counseling, you might find that it does a great job because counseling is a little bit closer to medical, and so maybe there's some more there. Connected papers. So one of the things lots of folks like about Research Rabbit or liked about Research Rabbit was that it showed you connections between papers. And that's what Connected Papers is designed to do. Everyone I think here knows I'm not that great at visual things, but you can, with the free one, you get a couple of graphs. You can get an overview of a field. You can see other connections. And so my Connected Papers, I've lost my good, here we are. So my connected, I started with, our campus services reaching those in need, substance use and awareness in university counseling services. And if I zoom in, sorry, I am not on my home computer, so this is going to be messy for a second. There we are. You can see other things that are connected to it. Oh, good gracious. And we can quickly sort of skim down this list and see it's highlighting the different papers as we go through. And it's showing, in this cases, how PASMAN is connected to all these papers. And one of the things I noticed already is we've got Klein 2025. I think this works really well when you have a few papers that you know, because you can put them in. with you can put more than one paper, I think, when you have the paid version, but you can start to see how they overlap. And you can look at both prior works to this, if you wanted to look backward, and derivative works, ones that have cited it. And so this can be a really nice way to sort of see a whole picture of the work that you have. And if I open my graph again, this is one of those things where it might say like, oh, we're not going to let you. Okay, we can open this in Google Scholar as well, and we can add some filters if we want to see. I would skip most. We could do filters by year, and you can download and you can share these. So this can be a nice. I've added some things. So let's see that new version. It's going to update a lot, and so this is something that I think if you are already really tight in the field, especially if there's a very specific paper. One of the things I help folks with is they're like, I have this very specific paper and nobody else is doing, like everything else is kind of distant. This might be a nice one to put in to see connections. So I do like that. Litmaps is another visual one. And Litmaps is here. Connected papers, hold on, Litmaps, sorry, I started with the Cohen, which I have to find. I started with this one, Aligning Students in Counseling Centers on Student Mental Health. And I can see how it's connected to different articles. In some cases, it's going to be by references. In some cases, it's going to be because they have shared bibliographies. Now, one of the nice things about Litmaps is you can add more papers, but also that you can color things in. So I gave this a tag of social inclusion. So some people were asking in other times, well, what if I've got a bunch of papers, but I kind of want to know which ones do say mostly social inclusion, or which ones have the faculty perfect, or which ones are in the UK. So you can see, you can give things both student perspective and UK. So you can sort of visually, if that's how you like to make sense of things, you can add in papers and you can start to say, wait, just show me the ones that are in the UK, or just show me the ones, I can't eat now, thank you. Show me the ones that are a student perspective. So this is one of the things where the Litmaps, and I made a note of it, for $10 a month, you can have unlimited articles and unlimited maps. This might be something that if this fit you, it might be worth a couple of Starbucks coffees a month. It is bringing in connected papers, but as you saw, they a little less broad, but you can bring in more papers of your own. So SciSpace was originally designed, so this is for systematic reviews. So now we're moving into what if I have papers and I'd like some summaries. I'd like something that kind of helps me make sense of a bunch of papers. So you can enter queries. For the paid version, you can get high quality and deep review. What this was designed to do is if you say, oh, are eggs good for people with diabetes, that it would look through all the information it had and it would give you the top papers and give you some summaries. So I was thinking about, again, that automated writing tools for graduate students in the United States, and it'll look through everything, bring in what it thinks are the top 5 papers, give me some benefits, concerns, ethical use. So this is really doing a lot more processing work. And this is where I'm going to say one of the worries is if you've got a good idea and you look at something like this, you might say, maybe my idea isn't that good. I want to really say the great thing about being able to do graduate level work is that you get to follow the path that you think is interesting. And I really don't want you to say, oh, maybe I just have to bring myself into the mean. Maybe I have to limit myself to what the average, sort of what some other tool tells me is important. We're not going to get innovation that way. That being said, having a quick look at this, one of the things I do like is I think the studies tend to be a little better. And you can see that they will have tags like, International Journal of Evaluation and Research. This one says Education Sciences, African Journal. It will pull from all over, the Journal of English Language Teaching and Linguistics. These strike me as a librarian as a little bit better. But one of the things I will like is that you can say, oh, here's some insights, but you could also say, what are the methods used? And one of the things I think can be interesting if you put a topic in and you find that it comes with an experimental study, a survey, summative and reflective evaluation methods, that you can get a sort of top level view of what the methods used. It's a little fuzzy sometimes, but it can help, I think, especially if you're like, I want to see what's actually working and how people are using it. The literature survey, so you see you can make the sort of literature matrix, and that doesn't seem to be filling in anything. The TLDR is the too long didn't read. That can be helpful. Oh, I don't know if it's going to give me my literature survey. Maybe not. So you have a whole lot of things that you can choose from. I would not, I'm just going to say, ResearchGap. Maybe they mentioned that there's something that's not here. I probably wouldn't trust it 100% for social sciences. And it's because I have the free version. It's just going to take a long time before oh, here we are. Sometimes limited research on Quillbot, lack of knowledge. If they don't mention something about it, they can't know whether it's a limit. I think this can be kind of helpful to get going. You can see up to 100 papers. It's still going to be on you to look at that paper, put your eyes on it, and decide whether or not it's actually doing the work that you need it to do. Just because it shows up in an AI tool doesn't mean that it's good, doesn't mean that it's trustworthy, doesn't mean that it's not somebody paid $200 to get it published, that sort of thing, or $2,000 to get it published. So one of the things I do like, though, is if you're kind of stuck and you want to start thinking about this topic, it's a good way to pull things out. And I do think with SciSpace, when you have the paid version, you can actually upload, like through Zotero, these are all the papers I have. Can you help me make sense of what I have? There's nothing that's the same as taking good notes on things. And we talked early in the semester, early in our sessions about good note taking. And I think some of the AI tools are trying to shortcut the note taking, and the note taking is actually where some of your ideas come from and some of the like aha moments come from. That being said, I still think this is pretty useful, especially if you're getting started with something or if you're not sure how things work. One of the things that I'm not the hugest ChatGPT fan, but I wanted to show you, I really like thinking about ChatGPT for helping me work out what's the sort of searches I should be doing. And so I wanted to show you the first one is chat.rochester.edu. That's the chat, the version of ChatGPT that the university pays for. So it's much more protected. If you like, it's not sharing that information anywhere. So if you accidentally like paste it in private information, it's not going outside. It's not feeding an AI. It's just one that you can sort of query and pull out of. So that's a big benefit. The one problem is that they haven't updated to the latest version of chat, so it's not as good. So I said, pretend I'm a graduate student interested in reaching how undergraduates have been exposed to trauma, cope with mental health, and getting good grades. How could I create a search in an academic database to find peer-reviewed relevant articles? And I do like that it gives me break down the key concepts, use keywords and synonyms, combine keywords, use filters. Here's some relevant databases. This is dead on. ERIC has not been updated since January, partially because they were doing an upgrade when the government decided to do some things. So ERIC is not the best one right now, but PubMed, JSTOR, ProQuest, these are all fine. Refine your search. Here's some ways you might do it. And so I really like that. It's giving me some example search strings for PsycInfo. A+, right? College students or undergraduates, trauma or PSD or adverse experiences. I would probably put that in quotes, but mental health or coping or resilience. These are all great terms. If someone came and said, this is the search I did, I'd be like, you're doing pretty well. That's good. It's giving us some filters, and that's great. And because it's from U of R, you might also want to see how to find it via River Campus Libraries. So here's the actual walking you step by step. I think this is going to be really nice for some folks. Now I have a big thing here. Hold on. ChatGPT 4. So this is if you go to ChatGPT and you ask it, it will do a little bit more. It will give you, first, it's a little prettier. It will, I think, walk you through the same steps, but in a way that makes a little more sense to me. Um, how to make that Boolean search string. This is fine. It talks about truncation. If you don't know what that is, it's going to go right by you, but putting quotations, putting phrases in quotations, I think these are great. Would you like help building it in PsycInfo or PubMed? The reason I don't mind this version of AI as a librarian is we're not asking it to make judgments about good searches. It's not asking us to choose. It's not asking us to read. It's giving us the tools to find things, and then letting some of that power be within us to make some of those decisions. So anybody who's worked with me knows I've done these. So this is what I will walk folks through, and I'll give you a couple of different things. It gives you even some search tips for PsycInfo. So this is a case of AI. ChatGPT is looking at all the guides that every librarian has written that are on the open web that are teaching people how to use PsycInfo. They're pulling those together and they're finding what's in common, and they're giving some really good advice. So I think I think, especially if you're thinking about searching, using something like ChatGPT, as we saw with Perplexity, asking it to help you figure out what kinds of searches to make, or asking it, ChatGPT is getting better about what are the best journals I should use if I'm thinking about this kind of topic and I'm writing my PhD, and it's going to really be focused on counseling topics, maybe apart from a psychology PhD, right? Because those go in slightly different directions. You could even tell it, like, hey, I'd like you to preference ACA journals when possible, and it'll probably give you that list. So one of the things I really want to stress is all of these tools have, and I put these tools in action for most of them, and I apologize that this one just looks like crap, but we saw it in person, so that's good. Test art. First thing you do is think about what you know best and test each of these with what you know best. If you already took a class, like I know Luke took a class with MJ Curry, right? Take those things that you got. It's a little old, like a couple of years old, whatever. Put those in and see what sense it makes of it. Use these tools to amplify your thoughts, not to replace them, not to hijack them. Your expertise in reading and note taking is the thing that's going to make it easier to write, easier to make sense of the research that you have. If you skip over that step so that you've got, like, oh, I got my lit review, great. You won't have actually gotten all those ideas, and those are the building blocks for how to put things together. And always, always, always have conversations with your advisor, professor, publishers, co-authors, anybody on your team, to talk about the boundaries of AI use that you agree on. So this is an ethical choice that people are making, and you can't make those choices without being clear, open communication. I mean, all the same things that work with every other kind of negotiation or group or relationship also have to do with AI. Don't sneakily use AI. When you use it, make sure you let people know that you're using it. There's nothing to be ashamed of in using it, unless you're lying about it. So if you feel the need to lie about it to someone, you might be doing something wrong. So we do have, just for the record here, I've linked to the guide from the provost, who is the person in charge of education at any universities, the provost, and they have guidelines. So make sure you keep thinking about that.